This is Blind Like Me.
Hello, everyone.
Interviews, information, and reviews related to living with a vision disability. Your host is Tim Black. Tim has been visually impaired since birth. He's been in radio for 30 years and also hosts the podcast Inside Today's Country. Tim has never let his lack of vision stand in his way.
Hi there, it's Tim. Thanks for listening to this week's edition of Blind Like Me. We appreciate you following along and subscribing to our podcast. And don't forget, make sure you give us 5 stars. That just helps other people find Blind Like Me. Well, speaking of finding our podcast, we have to say a big hello to the Georgia Radio Reading Service in Atlanta, Georgia. They have now picked up Blind Like Me and are adding our podcast to their programming. We're very excited to have those folks on board. And hello to everyone who's listening in Georgia. We've also got a brand new website out, blindlikeme.net, blindlikeme.net. That is our brand new dedicated website to this program. And we ask you to go and check it out. And you've got all the information on our website about Blind Like Me, about myself, and of course you can check out all of our episodes as well. This week we meet up with a gentleman by the name of Kyle Pleasant from Oregon. Kyle is a visually impaired massage therapist, but it wasn't his first career. Kyle's had some interesting experiences in his life, including backpacking across the UK. He's also got a book, a podcast, and of course, a massage therapy practice. Kyle Pleasant joins us from Oregon.
No, thank you. It's good to be here.
This is another connection that we made. We made a video a couple of weeks ago, I guess almost a month ago now, that we said, hey, we have a podcast and we want to connect to the blind and visually impaired community. We put that out on Blind Talk, and you were one of the guys that reached back to me, which is really kind of fun, and said, hey, you know what? I've got a neat story. I am a massage therapist. I'm blind. And I went, oh, that's cool, because that was actually one of the things that when I was younger, somebody said that, hey, you should go into that. And I thought, well, I don't want to do that. Too much reading. But you have gone into that. So let's find out a little bit about Kyle. First of all, you're visually impaired, right? You have no vision in your right eye?
Yeah, that's correct. It was due to a retinal detachment when I was a teenager.
Okay. And then limited vision in your other eye as well, right?
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah, in my left eye. Yeah, I had, when I was born, I had cataracts, and in the 70s, they didn't have the technology in order to, zap the cataracts out with a laser like they do now. So they removed the lenses from both of my eyes. And of course, the doctors were concerned that I wouldn't have any vision at all. But I guess the eye can naturally align itself to make its a natural focal length on its own. So I did have some limited vision. Of course, I was the kid, in the front of the class with the special large print books, and because I went to public school, so I was always the the blind kid in the school. People would say that was my label or whatever it is. I had the nice thick glasses and the large print books, and usually the teachers would kind of put me aside to give me little extra help if I had some kind of vision issues. And that was pretty much my elementary and adolescent years as far as my vision is concerned. And then of course I got out of school and I went to college and similar kind, little special adaptations. Of course, by then they had a little bit more technology that you could use textbooks on the computer, and special computer adaptations allowed for reading print, and CCTVs had come out. And I use one now that you can just blow up your mail and your textbooks or whatever it is to whatever size and condition that you might want. So my first job I got into was into IT. I did some computer networking for a paper manufacturing company in Texas. I'm originally from Texas, and
okay.
And I worked for the East Texas Lighthouse for the Blind, and it was a paper manufacturing company. They have a lot of different lighthouses all over the country that help people with low vision, blindness, and, with government contracts and stuff like that. So I worked there for about 8 years doing IT work. And it was just after a while, it was kind of hard for me to sit in front of the computer screen, and you didn't really feel like you were doing much by, helping people fix their printers and change their email or whatever. So I kind of felt like there was something a little bit lacking, and I wanted to like do something more for society or humanity or whatever. And that's when, like you, somebody said, well, why not try out, massage therapy? So for a while there, I kind of quit my job there, and I spent like the things that you do whenever you take a break from college or work or something like that. And I kind of spent the year doing a little backpacking across Europe. And then I also hiked a section of the Appalachian Trail, just all kinds of little different things.
Good for you.
Yeah. So, you got, all these little different things that you can do and get out there and, try and quote unquote find yourself or whatever. So then after all of that kind of stuff, I decided to go ahead and get into massage. Mm-hmm. And it was a little hard for me to be a massage therapist because it was a little more conservative. So I wasn't as successful in Texas because it was harder for me to find work. And so eventually I moved to Oregon because I wanted to kind of feel like I wanted to live somewhere different, and I always promote the idea is that whenever you get out of school or something, and travel and go to a different culture or a different place where you can kind of get a different perspective on life, always a good idea to think differently, and view the world differently. No pun intended. So, and so I moved to Oregon, and I went ahead and went back to school to do massage. And for now, I've been doing massage for about 8 years, and I run my practice out of my house.
Isn't that wild? Congratulations for all of that, man. That's amazing. I want to explore a little bit more about the backpacking across Europe.
Sure.
As somebody who is visually impaired, that's really cool. And then to go in the Appalachian Mountains, how did that work out for you? That must have been an amazing adventure for someone with a visual impairment.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I got a whole slew of stories about all the different places I went to see, like Italy and France and Switzerland or whatever. What I did is I got a Eurorail pass. And each city that I went to, I joined up with like some kind of tour group. Okay. So that way I wasn't entirely by myself. I was around, a bunch of different people, a bunch of strangers that I'd never met before. But I would hook up with like a particular tour group, that would take you around to the different places. So as long as I close to the group and, all that kind of stuff, it allowed me the ability to navigate, around and to see different things or whatever. Because like I say, I have still a little bit of vision. So, So some of the sites aren't completely lost on me. I mean, my favorite place was hitting up there on going the top of one of the tallest mountains in Switzerland. Jungfrau was, getting up there at 14,000 feet and getting a look out over the countryside and that kind of stuff. So that was, that was really nice. So that's kind of how I managed that visually, is just kind of, linking up with a particular tour group. You'd plan these kind of things a little bit ahead of time, so which kind of tour group there is in that particular city, and then you can use public transportation or the visitor centers that most cities have and that kind of stuff. And then after all the touring in Europe and that sort of stuff, the Appalachian Trail was brought on by a gentleman that I was working with at the lighthouse had told me about it. And there were actually several other blind people that have written books and have done like documentaries about hiking the Appalachian Trail. And I thought, well, if these blind guys can do it, why can't I? So I thought, well, I'll just, try that out. So I took an Amtrak to Atlanta. Now the Appalachian Trail is like a 2,100 mile footpath that goes from basically north of Atlanta and goes all the way to Maine. So it's about 2,100 miles. But the Appalachian Trail is pretty well maintained, where it has like a bunch of it's a footpath, like
Right.
you're walking along, a well-maintained trail.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of the trees have big giant white markers on them. So it lets you know that you're, still on the right path. So I didn't really feel like I got lost too much because there's always a marker there to tell me that I'm still going the right direction. Occasionally I might, veer off a little bit here and there, but there's usually, in the spring, there's a lot of people around that say, hey, you go back over here, whatever it is,
Right.
and, to keep me on track. It was so visually, there were a few little challenges that I had to face about crossing roads and getting up there at some of the peaks or whatever, where it wasn't as marked as well, because you're at the tree line and there's no trees. So, but I made it through pretty well. I did about 900 miles of it. I didn't really do like the whole thing, because by the time I got to the end of Pennsylvania, I was pooped. So,
Dude, I get pooped 30 minutes on the treadmill. Congratulations for doing that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. You're a guy who's not scared of doing things with your vision or lack thereof of your vision.
I don't. My mother raised me pretty independently. So, just taking on challenges or whatever it is. Well, the way that I look at it is that everybody, whether you have a blindness or you don't, everyone has some kind of hang up, some kind of disability that, that an obstacle that they have to face, and some are natural, some are, life circumstances, and some just kind of show up, in your life out of the blue. But but part of living life is to overcome these obstacles. I think that's why you're put on this earth, is to create and to use those obstacles as an opportunity to better yourself and to create new things, because without them, if people were just sailing through life like it was a breeze, you might start taking it for granted, or there would be no inspiration to create. A lot of artists and musicians, that exist, evolved from suffering, or it evolved
Right.
from challenges that they had to overcome. So I don't consider myself as quote unquote blind or as somebody with a disability, just an obstacle that, is a challenge that I haven't faced or I haven't overcome yet. So
I love exactly what you said there. I've had the same thought and I tell people that all the time, that we all have disabilities. Mine's just, you can kind of tell that I have a disability because you can see what my eyes look like, but we all have challenges in life, and we all have to overcome those challenges. I applaud you for saying that, because I think there's a lot of people who are very scared to take the challenge, and not, go to the next level or go to the next challenge in their lives, because they do have a disability. So, it's one of those things that we have to tell people and prepare people and encourage others who are visually impaired that you can do whatever you want and set your mind to.
right. Because our own limitations that are, in our mind. And if we perceive ourselves as having a limitation, I can't do this and I can't do that or whatever, well, then that's exactly, what you're going to have is a limitation. Granted, I can sit here and say, poor me, I can't drive a car, or I can't fly an airplane, or I can't do this and that, But what I can do is I can hike the Appalachian Trail, and I can start my own massage practice. I can write a book, start a podcast, or whatever. I can do those things. I just have to try, put it out there. And even if it, isn't the greatest, even if it sucks, you can, take pride in knowing that you at least made an attempt to make something. Because, I said before that, if you don't do anything, then you don't get any results, so if you, try and get some kind of result, whether good or bad, at least you put yourself out there and you made that attempt, and you never know who you're going to touch as a result of putting something out there.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about the massage therapy business that you started. And as you say, you're running it out of your house. Was it a challenge to become a massage therapist as somebody with a visual impairment? And how do your clients feel the fact that, hey, this guy has a visual impairment? Are there any downsides to that?
Well, initially, whenever I went to massage school, I was like you. It was like, oh my God, that's a lot of reading and a lot of, learning about anatomy and blah, blah, blah. But I think I was blessed with some really good teachers, a really good support system when I went to school. Because here, vocational rehab services kind of helped get me into the school.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever I got there, they were able to provide some accommodations like, the textbooks on the computer and large print handouts and things like that. So because a lot of massage is more hands-on than anything as far as practical applications concerned, it's a hands-on business. There's even I can't remember her name. It's Envision, but it's a massage school out of New Jersey where they specifically train people, blind people, to be massage therapists. It's a school that's specifically designed to train massage therapists or whatever. So, so it's massage itself is more of a practical learning where a hands-on kinesthetic skill.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's a little bit more intuitive. I feel like I'm a little bit more an intuitive massage therapist than say somebody that has regular vision or whatever, because I'm using my hands not only for massage, but I use them for, cleaning the house and, finding things in the dark, or whatever. So I use my hands a lot, though my hands are my eyes, so to speak. I tend to find more problems or deviations in somebody's body, than maybe other massage therapists do. And that's kind of how I market myself. Is that I'm an intuitive massage therapist. So clients will often say to me like, "Hey, this is the best massage I ever had. You found things on my body that I didn't even know, were wrong, or whatever." And so, that tends to be my specialty, is being able to find and correct things on people that most other massage therapists might not be able to. And so that's how I draw in the crowd. So,
what's the biggest challenge you've had, Kyle, in your life?
Biggest challenge in my life is, I guess, is more getting to a point where I love myself, where, and I don't, rather than value myself on the good opinion of other people, loving myself exclusively based on who I know that I am, which is a spiritual being having a human experience, and that I'm whole, perfect, and complete.
And why was that a challenge?
It was a challenge because, as a teenager, a lot of, when you're trying to figure out who you are and where you fit, you feel like you're a little puzzle piece and you're trying to shave the edges so that you can, fit into the world or whatever it is, when it's really just a matter of trying, to be who you're meant to be, show up as to who you are and not try to fit into what society says that you should. And so as a teenager, that was a really hard lesson to try and overcome.
Mm-hmm. Talk to the sighted community. What would you tell them about being a blind person?
Well, I feel like, as far as like the blind culture is concerned, don't be afraid to ask questions. There are a lot of people are like, oh, that's the blind person over there. What if they get mad at me if I am curious about their guide dog, or I'm curious about how they're using that cane, or what if they need help crossing the street or whatever? And I would say, most of us out there are okay with you asking questions, with approaching us and asking those questions, because when you ask questions, you learn. And I'd rather somebody not assume that I need help and just say, hey, do you need help? That would be something that I would, I guess, promote.
Yeah. You said you wrote a book. Let's talk a little bit about that. What was your book about?
Sure. The book was, I kind of explained a little bit, is that it's a conglomeration of some of the blog posts that I've written for my massage practice that focuses on like massage and well-being and just thinking positively and self-improvement, but it also integrates the things I talked about here about, how I grew up and overcoming those challenges as a blind person, and hiking the Appalachian Trail, and some Appalachian Trail stories that I've had, and just an overall, just a kind of helpful, quick tip type book about, educating yourself and staying hydrated and, taking a look at your nutrition and being of service to others.
And what's the title of the book?
The name of the book is called Fostering Energy. And you can find that like on Amazon and all the other places that you can find books and stuff.
Do you have a website, Kyle?
My website is pleasantspirit.com. Massage practice is Pleasant Touch Massage. And you can find that at the website, pleasanttouchmassage.com, and you can book an appointment there. But both of those websites are all linked together to my blog posts and podcasts and my book and all that sort of stuff.
Plug for your podcast.
Pleasant Spirit Podcast. And again, you can find that on all the platforms too. And it just kind of ties into, pleasantspirit.com and all the health and wellness type stuff.
Excellent. Kyle, you are a ray of sunshine, my friend, and a whole lot of energy in there. I wish you all the success going forward, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Everybody have a pleasant day.
Thanks for listening to Blind Like Me. If you have a comment or suggestion about future casts, drop us an email to blindlikeme@outlook.com. Blind Like Me is a TimBlackOnAir.com production.